there you go. Hey, listen, thank you. There's a lot of places you could be today. You chose to be here with me. What's the one thing that once it's gone, we never get back? Time. So here's what I want from you. I want you thinking, the lens I want you looking through today is what, let's say we're going to be here for an hour and a half. Right? What else usually takes about an hour and a half that makes you some money? Listing appointment, right? Could take around that, right? And what's the average commission per listing in this office? I'll help you. A little over $10,000. Now you may have big sales like Jen selling $8 million properties, $100,000 checks, or it may be a piece of land. Here's the point I'm making. On average, about an hour and a half, you can make about $10,000. Here's what I want from you. I want you leaving today. The lens I want you going through is what is the $10,000 idea that I'm going to put in place, I mean you, in your business this afternoon. Fair enough?
Yes.
Okay, here's the other thing. I'm going to ask you, so be ready. So take notes, and when we get to the end, I'm going to ask you, what are some takeaways? What's your $10,000 idea? All right, thank you for being punctual. You guys ready to jump in?
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump in. All right, so here's what we're going to cover today. Market snapshot. This is not a replacement for what Gary does. Gary goes in depth in a different way in more avenues. I'm giving you an overlook of where it's kind of skiing rather than necessarily scuba diving super deep. There are some very unique slides in here that you'll want to take with you to a listing appointment, that you'll want to use when you're getting a price reduction, and that you'll want to submit with your offer when you're submitting offers for buyers that might be a little under what they're currently listed at. Okay? So market snapshot. We're going to talk about positioning yourself as a local market expert. Everybody knows 5 or 10 agents. Why should they choose you? You're in an elevator, and they say, yeah, we're interviewing agents. Why should we pick you? You should be able to articulate that pretty quickly. We're going to talk about how to. I have something I'm so stinking excited to show you guys. Specifically Tampa. If you're not in Tampa, it's okay. I'll share some other stuff too. But one for Tampa for you guys today. I haven't ran the numbers for the other 2 offices. Wait till I show you this. You're going to love this. Where's the market headed? Isn't that the #1 question everybody has that you're working with? Like, is now a good time to buy or sell? Where's the market going? We don't have a crystal ball, but we do have trends that we can follow to get an idea, right, of where things might be going. Powerful words to get homes priced to sell. Is that a challenge right now? Right? Yes. Second one is objection handlers to get agreements signed. So you're submitting offers. How do you get them signed? We're going to talk about navigating price reductions. If you've got listings sitting there and they're not selling, is that $5,000 adjustment going to get it sold? The short answer is no. I'll show you how you approach that. I wrote 6, and then I said 7, and I actually have like 9 on here, so we'll see how much. I always prepare more stuff than I can deliver, so I have some bonus material if we have time to get through it. So you will leave with things, and the referral stuff are things that I didn't hear work well, or might work well, right? These are things that my own personal team does, MREA team. These are things I'm helping your fellow agents in this office do right now. These are things that are getting results right now in our current market today. Would it be helpful if next week you had 3, 4, 5 people calling you saying, hey, we need to sell, can you come talk to us? Yeah. Would that be nice? Yeah. Okay. All right, you guys ready to jump in? Yep. Yes. Okay, let's jump in. Okay, so how do you answer, this is a rhetorical question, how do you answer the question, how's the market? We hear that a lot. You're at dinner with somebody, you're talking to somebody, they know you're in real estate, they say, how's the market? What most agents say is they say, oh, the market's great. What we're hoping happens is they hear, that Trisha's a great agent, and if I'm going to sell my house, I'm going to call Trisha. A lot of times what they hear is, Trisha's fine, she doesn't need any business. I know 3 other agents, I'm going to give it to them, right? We want to position ourselves so when they think real estate, they think you. And we've got some awesome minds in this room. Thank you for showing up. What that tells me is even our top producers know we have to stay on top of our craft. We have to always learn. So, all right. So how do you answer the question? Is now a good time to buy or sell? Let's jump into this. What's one of the biggest concerns that a buyer has right now? Interest rates. Interest rates, and what's another one?
Affordability.
Yeah, the affordability, right, and price, right? Am I going to buy this home and 6 months later it's going to be worth less than what I bought it for? Should I wait, right? Should I wait for interest rates to improve? Should I wait to see what happens with pricing? That's the place that a lot of buyers get stuck in. Then you have sellers, they're like, I don't want to get rid of my 3.5% mortgage to make a move, right? So how do we make this happen? All right. So what effect, we just had an election, and I showed this slide last time. I'm going to give you 3 resources that I didn't give last time. New articles, new tools, new things you can share, post on social media, bring with you, and refer back to it. So what effect does a real estate election typically have on a real estate market? A lot of people are worried what happens. Here's an article. So I'm going to have Amber Lee send out a PDF copy of these slides. So yes, you can take pictures if you need to, and just pay attention and take notes. You're going to get the slides. But fair enough, you get the slides. Would that be helpful to have them?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so click here for example, what's the impact of a presidential election on housing? So 9 home sales, the number of sales, we'll talk about prices in a second, the number of units sold in 9 out of the past 11 elections went which direction? Up. There was only 2 that it went down, 1980 and 1988. So none of us have a crystal ball, but history is telling us that it should go up, right? Which would be great. You probably heard we just had the lowest number of units sold in 30 years. Now what offset that? Volume. What do we get paid off of? Volume, a percentage of the sales price, whatever your percentage is. Okay, prices. This is the concern that most buyers have, right? Read this. Existing home prices went which way on 7 of the 8? After 7 of 8, exactly, up. Prices went up. What's the only one where it didn't go up? 2008. How did that happen? Right? You guys remember this? If you can fog a mirror, you get a loan. Stated income, stated asset, right? I personally helped someone that worked, not that I'm knocking this at all, but she worked at a fast food chain, and she was coming to buy, I mean, a nice expensive house, and I didn't place any judgment. I was like, no problem. Do you want to talk to my lender just to get a second opinion? She's like, no, I've got one. She was moving down here from New Jersey, right? And I tried to stress the importance of at least having a second opinion, having a backup plan. Like, no, I got it. We get to like a week before closing, and the whole time the lender's like, oh yeah, we'll be fine. What do you think happened a week before closing? Yeah, it's starting to fall through, and the lender's like, hey, can you give an extension? I was like, sure, we'll exercise. We had a one-time unilateral in there. I exercised that. And then right when we're about to run out of that extension, what do you think happened? They asked for another one. At that point, the sellers are like, you give me extra earnest money, I will. And I went, this is the third time I went to the buyer, and I said, hey, I want you to just take 5 minutes, talk with my lender, and just see if they can they've closed loans in as short as 7 to 10 days. They may be able to get it pushed through if your lender can't. She finally did. Here's what she found out. That loan was never going to go through in the beginning. You know what I mean? Like, real estate got into that mess in 2008. Are things different now? Yeah. Yes, it's not the same as it was in 2008. Standards have changed, so likely, we don't have a crystal ball, but home value should go up. We don't know what happened. We can't promise that, but out of 7 out of the past 8, it has. Okay? All right. Cost of waiting to move. This is a new one. You might have someone that's saying, hey, I'm going to wait. I'm just going to see what happens this year. Let me share this with you. So there's an article. So I always love articles. Share this. Print it. Have a copy in your phone. Whatever social media you want to do with it. There's a home price expectation survey where they talk to over 100 economists. All the big ones with the big companies you know about, AMA, Freddie Mac, NAR, all those, and outside ones. They say, hey, based on the trends, where do you think prices are going to go over the next year? Here's what they found out. They said 2024, we would probably end up around 5.25%. 2025, about 3.78% appreciation, right? 3.63, 3.71. This goes from 2024 to 2029. So, what is the average sales price of a home in the Tampa Bay area? 400s, right? 400s, okay? So, let's say somebody bought a house today, $400,000 property. That's what this shows right here. If you're looking at the slide, it says potential growth in the household wealth over the next 5 years based solely on the increase in equity if you bought a $400,000 home in January of 2025. So, right now, this month, you bought a home. Starts off at 400. Based on those economists' predictions, again, nobody has their crystal ball, but these are some smart people that went to school for this. They're saying appreciation 415, 430, 446, 464, and by 2030 it's at 483, 251. So what is that amount of money? $83,000 is the cost of waiting. They have to live somewhere, right? And at a certain point, your life events are more important than a couple bucks here or there. Is there a chance it could go down before it comes up? Sure, but most people aren't. If they buy a house today, are they typically moving next year? No. Most people stay in the home 5 to 10 years. So, let's take a look at outside of home prices. What's another reason buyers and sellers, too, are waiting to make a move? You've already mentioned it. Outside of prices, what's another thing that makes them not want to move or wait to move?
Affordability.
Yeah, affordability, interest rates, right? So, should we, this is what, bless you, this is what they're saying. Should we wait for interest rates to come down? Well, let's take a look. This is what Fannie Mae, Mortgage Bankers Association, Wells Fargo, and the average thinks is going to happen to interest rates over the next year. What do you see there? About the same, So don't put your future on hold. If it's important for you to put your kids in that school district, or if it's important you have more space for your family, or if you've been holding on to a bigger home than you need, you're an empty nester, don't put your future on hold. I'm here. Whether it's going to be 6 months from now or 6 years from now, the question is, when's the right time for you? This is what stats in the market's telling us. What do you want to do? Either way, I'm with you. You see what I mean? You're just delivering and interpreting the data. They need to make the decision. We can't force, last time I checked, you can't force someone to buy or sell a home, right? You can't force, nobody ever says, I bought that home by accident, right? It just doesn't happen. But you need to interpret the data. Okay. All right, so, but people are like, well, what? Maybe the interest rates will change. Mortgage rates do loosely follow the long-term bond yield. They loosely follow it, not directly, but loosely follow it. So, does the Fed set the mortgage rate? No. What do they actually set?
Prime. The rates that banks borrow
Yes.
each other.
Federal funds rate. That's it. Federal funds rate. So I showed this slide before. I'll show it again because I want everybody to be able to deliver this in a very cohesive way to somebody. And I honestly didn't understand this for the first 10 years I was in real estate. I didn't. You know, I'm not a mortgage banker. I don't know the back end of mortgages, but this is important to know. What do they set? That's Jerome Powell. They set the federal funds rate. This is the money that banks lend to each other. Let me give you an example. And this is, I should have told you in the beginning. Hi, I'm Aubrey Bailey. This is my phone number and my email address. I'll come back to that. All right. So this is how it works. I'm going to use really round numbers. These are not the actual numbers, but this will give you a good perspective. Let's say that they're required, we all go put money into the bank, right? In whatever capacity that is, savings, checking, or whatever else, right? Let's say that that bank is required to keep X amount of dollars in there. Now, we may have millions of dollars in there, but let's say that the government says, you know, Wells Fargo, at that branch, you need to hold $1 million, you know, on hand, and then you can lend out everything above that. You guys with me so far? So we may have $3 million in the bank, but they only have $1 million on hand. That's why they're concerned. Remember a few years ago, we had the banking thing, and everybody's worried, like, go get your money now. And the government's like, well, if you do that, we're in trouble. Why? Because they don't have it. They lent it out. Who are they lending it to? Back to us. They may give us a very low percentage on a checking or savings, a couple percent, right? Then they lend it back to us for car loans, credit cards, you know, all the other types of loans. That difference is called arbitrage. Arbitrage. It'd be the same thing as you borrowing money, you know, on whatever capacity you can. Let's say it's at 4 or 5%, and then you lend it to somebody else for 10%. That arbitrage is that difference. Make sense? I'm not saying go do that, but that's the example here. So now, let's say that they're told they have to have $1 million on hand. And let's say they actually, so this is the requirement, and let's say the actual is, you know, $1.5 million. So that difference is $500,000 that they're just sitting on. That isn't doing them any good. They want to lend it, but they can't find people to lend it to. So what do? They go to other banks, and they lend it to each other. Jerome Powell, they set, right, the federal funds rate that banks lend to each other on. Make sense? So does it impact us? I mean, a little bit, but not directly. Does that make sense? You guys follow? It's what they're lending to each other. It's the overage of what they're required to hold. You got that? Did I explain that in a way that makes sense? Okay, good. Okay. Why do they change rate? The main reason is curve inflation. Curve inflation. If rates are if everybody's buying everything, they're like, whoa, people have too much money. Let's adjust the rates, and hopefully that'll curb them from buying so much stuff, and appreciation won't happen as quickly, right? Because home prices cannot go up 20% a year for indefinitely. That can't happen. It's already slowed down. We're about to get into that, right? So, what else happened naturally in 2024 in the real estate market? U.S. homes, this is a real article, right? U.S. homes, the number of sales did hit the units hit the lowest they've hit in 30 years. That's the reality of it, okay? Here's the other reality. It's about the same as it was the year before. Within a couple 100,000 of each other, pretty darn close. And I have some encouraging news I want to share with you. Here's NAR stats that came out in, I'm waiting for the updated one, but this came out in January. This shows where the home sales were. So like if you look, this is their adjusted pace. I wish this number had the actual home sales. They do this adjusted rate. They say if homes sold at the pace they did in December for the full year, we'd end up at blank. Do you see what I mean? So it's not the actual number. The actual number was like 4.0 something million. It's a little bit less than this. But here's what I want you to see. We had our peak back in 2020, right, 2021. We hit 2021, it was about 6.4, 6.3 million. And it's been declining since then. However, look what happened in this little trend right here at the end. and it's echoed again here. Do you see it? Right? So the full year doesn't necessarily give us a scope. We're kind of seeing this hockey stick back up in the percent of home sales year over year, like comparing October to October, November to November last year, December to December last year. It was negative for most of the year, and then all of a sudden, started going up. Is that encouraging for you too? Because it's encouraging for me. Daryl.
Is this national home sales?
National. We're about to get local. You're on the right track. Yes, we're about to get to local. So nationally, this is what happened. You guys with me so far? Say yes?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, so existing homes median price. This is what happened December this year versus December last year. Prices went up. They've been all over the map last year. You see what I mean? Month over month, kind of all over the map. But again, real estate is local, right? So let's see what happened here. So what's happening here? What's going on in the state of Florida? What's going on in Stellar MLS? What's going on in this county? What's going on in your neighborhood? Those are different numbers. Just because it's 80 and sunny here today doesn't mean it's 80 and sunny in New York or Wisconsin or Colorado, right? Completely different. So we need to dig into what's going on locally. All right, so let's go through some of these. So why should sellers choose you? In this example, Tampa agent, I got something for portfolio and Clearwater. I'll share later. But this one I did specifically for Tampa. You're gonna not dislike. I love the next one. For one, feel comfortable knowing more. If you're sitting with the seller, you can confidently share this slide. This is directly from the MLS. This isn't manipulated. This is directly downloaded and uploaded to spit this out. More agents choose a KW agent than any other company. These are all the other companies. They're on there. Remax, Charles Ruttenberg, Powell Banker, all the companies you can think of are here. So if you're sitting with the seller, you can say, look, feel comfortable knowing that you're picking the company that most people choose, right? And each agent's created a little differently. Each office is a little different. Let me show you, again, why it would make sense for us to work together, okay? Here's the one that I really, really, really love, okay? Median. What's the difference, question, between median and average? Yes, Andre.
Median is the middle number.
Yes, exactly.
Takes into account all of the top spots.
Here's why that matters. As an individual agent, let's say you sold 12 houses a year, and one of your sales was $8 million, but the rest were 400 something. If you took an average, it would look like your average sale price is like $3 or $4 million. That's not the case. That one sale threw off all the other numbers. Median gets rid of those outliers and just kicks it in the dead middle. You know what I mean? Highest price, lowest price, dead middle. What's the middle, right? Median's a more accurate number. So median, this is Tampa Properties. Okay, so in Tampa Properties, the median sales price to list price ratio, you guys did this, is 98.8%, sold in 47 days. Okay, now, is that good or bad? That sounds pretty good. Let's take a look. What did the MLS do? Let's see, are we outperforming the MLS? You're going to love this. So this is the MLS. Stellar, they come out with their reports typically on the 10th of the month. They said around the 10th. Today's the 11th. They're still not out. I checked this morning, so this is me manually doing it, but I did it manually, okay? So these are actual numbers from the MLS. There were 2,100 detached sales, but 1,319 attached units last month. Combined total sales, 3,400. Median was 94.1%. Sales price to list price ratio. The median days on market was 55 days. Congratulations, you're beating the market. Why is this important? Okay, all commissions are negotiable, yes? Okay, and look at the difference between these two. The median agent, you can use the word average in a conversation because it sounds weird sometimes to say median, right? But you can say most agents in the MLS end up selling the property in our current market right now roughly 94.1% of list price. In our office, we average typically around 98.8%. So you may have another agent that's willing to do it for less, and they should, right? And I'm curious, what matters more to you? The amount of money you pay the agent, or the size of the check that you're driving away from that closing table with your family? Because the numbers are showing us that we, on average, get 4.7% more money. So although you may feel like you're saving money going to that other agent that's charging 1% less, you're actually costing yourself over 4%. What 4% of your $500,000 property is 20 grand. What would you do if I handed you 20 grand right now? Good, right? I want you to have that 20 grand. You want it too, don't you? Great, let's do the right thing. Hire me and let me go get you some money for this house. See what I mean? Real numbers and email us right now. Daryl.
Question on the detached units and the attached units. The attached units would be single-family homes, and attached would be like condos or residential apartments.
Yes.
Not
Not apartments, but anything
condos.
shareable. Condos, townhouses, and buildings.
Gotcha.
All right, so what could this look like? Party chatter. Someone's asking you, how's the market? How do you respond to this? I'm going to give you something to separate you a little bit. You want to say something positive, and then you want to give them something to cause curiosity, where they see you as someone that knows something other people don't. Here's what that looks like. You know, so how's the market? What would you respond with? Good. You would say, what if you could say, you know, let me get back to this. I've got another slide that I'll show it in a second, but this is what it would look like. Let me go back. If someone says, how's the market? It's on a different slide. I'll show it to you. Market's great, and this is a real number. 22% of the homes that go up for sale, write these down because I want to slide later. How's the market? The market's fascinating, right? 22% of the homes right now are actually still selling for above list price. However, I noticed something interesting, and that's that over 33% of them are not selling at all. You guys catch that?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So over 22% are selling for above list price. 33% are not selling at all. Over 33% are not selling at all. Right? But every market's a little different. You know, every neighborhood's a little different. I'm curious. Why do you ask? They're either going to say, I'm curious, I'm just curious, or they might say, well, we were thinking about making a move. You say, well, that's exactly why we need to get together. Let's have a conversation about what's going on in your neighborhood, in your current market, because every neighborhood's different. Every street is different. You guys follow me? Okay, we're going to cover that in a little more detail. So here's the other thing. So rather than it saying how's the market, what it should have said is why should I choose you? I meant to change that top. So typo on my part. You can say we bring sellers 4.7% more for their money 7 days faster than the average agent in the MLS. On your $500,000 home, that's potentially $23,000 more in your pocket and a week less of showings, of disrupting dinner, and having to clean, the house and make the beds and all that. So, Mr. and Ms. Seller, I want you to have that additional money with as few people walking the home as possible. And I know you want that too, right? So, like, this is when you're at the table talking to them. You say, great, sign here, and let's get started, shall we? Real numbers. They can't argue data. You can't say, I feel. Show them actual numbers. You guys follow it? Yep. You earned this. You did this. Beating the MLS by over 4%, that's phenomenal. In most cases, that pays for more than your side of the commission anyway. You see what I mean? Now you're working for free in their eyes because you're getting more than other people. Okay?
This is part of what's going to get emailed to us.
Yes.
Good.
Good. I need to fix the typo so it says the right thing, which I will. Okay, so now let's dig into, we talked about nationally, we talked about stellar MLS. Let's talk about now, these reports, are, you can't see it, but it's Hillsborough, Pasco, and Pinellas County. So we're talking about just our 3 areas, and then we'll get a little more particular. So let's take a look. And if you look, you see the yellow part, it says detached. January 2025 detached residences. Are attached homes a little bit different market than?
Yes.
Absolutely. So that's why they're separated, because we can have this false sense of what's going on by looking when we combine them together. So they're separated. You can look at both. Okay. I know this sheet will make your eyes cross. Let me give you the way I look at it and the way I would use it. Okay. This is what I would say. I'm sitting with a seller at a listing appointment. Okay. And we're going through all the marketing, and we ask if you feel confident that I'm the right agent to sell your home. They say yes, based on what I saw, knocking out of the park. Right. You need to talk to them about pricing before you get to commission. Commission is the last thing you talk about. Price only matters in the absence of value. You have to show your value before you talk about what you charge them. Okay? All right. So if you're talking about the market, and they're saying, well, what's going on in the market? You pull this sheet out before you show your actual CMA. CMA is just their neighborhood. This is the area. You can say, well, in this area, single-family detached, I want you to look down the street. And right now, when you look down the street, 35% of the homes, so more than 1 out of 3, are not going to sell. My job as your agent is to make sure you're in the 2 of the 3 that do sell. Right? Okay? Now, on top of that, what typically happens is, if homes are going to bring close to list price, if they don't have to reduce the price, they'll know within 12 days. The market says that we'll know if we have the right price within 12 days, and it'll bring close to list price. The average, 99.4%. So if we got it right, we'll know within how many days? 12. And it'll bring what percent? 99.4. However, if the market changed, conditions change, if we got it wrong, here's what the market's telling us. If we got it wrong, it will ultimately sell for 89.9% of original list price, and it'll take 100 days to sell, right? It's important to get it priced right. We can't underprice a home. What happens if you price it too low?
Multiple offers.
And what typically happens in multiple offers?
Higher.
22%, 22% go above list price. We can't underprice it, but we can absolutely overprice it. Make sense? And then people don't even come to look at it, and by the time we reduce it, they're like, well, what's wrong with it? Why hasn't it sold yet? That's that stigma that homes get, okay? We're at an average of 4.7 months on the market right now. 4.7 months. What's a balanced market?
6 months.
Yeah, we're on 6 months, right? So we're actually getting pretty stinking close. But you see all the greens? The greens are good, meaning it's still good depending on which side you're on. Good meaning it's still a seller's market. Reds are it's a buyer's market. You see over 1.5 million is where it turns into a buyer's market. 8 months of inventory, 10 months of inventory, 2 years almost of inventory in the 3 million plus, right? Okay, here's the other piece of this. Right now, 55% of the homes are having to reduce their price to sell. 55% are having to reduce to sell. These are the reality of the numbers. I'm not an average agent. My goal is to beat the average. That's why you're hiring us at this office and our group, and you're hiring me as your agent. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's walk through what pricing looks like. You guys got that? How that works? The way you use it is walking into the listing appointment, have this printed, and circle or highlight their price range. All these lines are just price ranges. So you just highlight the one that's theirs and use that price range numbers. Yes?
I want you to go back for a second and just repeat how you said if the price is wrong.
Got you. If the price is wrong, and right now 55% of them are having to reduce the price to sell, it's going to take roughly 100 days to sell, and it'll bring 89.9% of the original list price. I'm not average. My goal is to beat that. I don't determine the price. The market determines the price. Let's talk about what the market is saying about your home. Then you would bring out the CMA on their home. Okay? Make sense? This doesn't replace the CMA. CMA is specific to their neighborhood. This gives you a closer overview of what's going on in our area. And you can actually break this out for just Pinellas, Pasco, or Hillsborough. It has a drop down in them. You have to have PowerPoint or Excel to do it. It won't do it in Google Sheets. I have a Mac that drives me crazy, but that's how you get the interactive charts. Okay? So let's go a step further.
Whoa, go back.
Yes?
How do you get the interactive chart?
So in the downloads, if you download the files, one of the last few pages, you can actually click and do a drop down of which county you're in. And we even had them separate. Condos is a whole different market.
Right.
We actually had them separate the beaches, both beaches, because that's the area that got hit with all the storms and everything. That's a little different than maybe the other side is of the bay. So, yeah. So this is detached. You can see these numbers here. Take a look at attached home. Here's the quicker thing I want to look at. Most of this is what color? Green. Most of that is what color?
Red.
Condos are getting hit harder.
Yeah.
This is a good visual to show, right? You see where I put the arrow at the top that shows condos, townhouses, and villas. 47% are not selling. They're expiring. They're going up for sale and not selling versus 35%. So 47% of the condos are not selling, right? If they do get it right, it's taking a little more time. 17 days isn't that bad, right? That's longer than 12, right? 17 is longer than 12, and they're bringing 98% of list price, 98.4 versus 99.4. Okay. Now, if they get it wrong, here's what starts to hurt. It's going to take 124 days and 88.7% of list price. And you look at how many months of inventory. If you look at price, what does economics tell us? What are the two things you look at that affect price?
Supply and demand.
Supply and demand. If there's not enough supply and the demand's more than the supply, prices go up. If inventory, they got all the homes in the world to choose from, and there's not enough buyers for the homes, right, then prices go down, right? Okay? So this kind of outlines what's happening in the market. So the median, so just the median, the middle, better than average, is they're selling in 67 days. So don't take a condo listing for 60 days. When the median is 67, you need to take at least 3 months, if not 4 or 5 months. Make sense? So don't take a short listing on a condo. What does that look like on detached? Detached is 49. So single family is 49, condos are 67, right? So on average, on median, they're selling in 67 days, bringing 93.8% of list price, okay? Whereas single family detached, 49 days, 94.3% of list price. You guys see the difference there? I think the bigger takeaway is the red. That's something to watch on condos, okay? You guys with me so far? Yep. Here's the thing I want you to know, take a deep breath, okay? No matter what happens, the market's the market. Production is a choice. People are still buying and selling homes, right? If prices did go down, they go up and down all the time over a trend. I'll show you in a second how you can give buyers confidence, right? It doesn't affect you very much. The homes are still selling. You see what I mean? People are still buying and selling. You can still have the best year of your life, right? Even if prices were down. I got my license in 05. What happened in 06, 07, 08,
Right.
right? I was doing like 50 homes, 50 to 60 a year as an individual agent in 08, 09, 2010. And a lot of other agents are like, how are you doing that? I'm like, I don't know any better. I just came into business. I didn't have to develop bad habits. I did what I was taught in Capra Academy. It was called Camp 443, I think, back then, you know? And that's what we did. So I just want you to know that no matter what happens in the market, you guys are going to be okay, right? You're going to be fine. So, all right, let's take a look at this. So I did two different charts. I wanted to white some of them out. Tampa Bay area in general, what's a snapshot of the market? What's going on? This is January this year versus January last year. So this column is January this year versus January last year. If you look at this, new listings are up 18.8%. Remember supply and demand? If we have too many listings coming on too fast, it could potentially hurt pricing. Make sense? So my question is like, well, which way are we heading? Does it keep going up and up and up? Take a look at this. If you look at December versus January, so December 2024 versus January a month later, what did they go up? They went up 50%, right? So that to me is like, hang on, what's going on? That's a good bit of listings that came on in January versus January the last year. I'm going to show you a great slide in a second called perspective. Probably one of the most powerful slides you can use for a buyer thinking about buying now. It's now a good time to buy. Show them the perspective slide. Because the media can go crazy with this, right? You know what I mean? They get bad news is what sells. All right, so going back to active, 37% increase. There's 37% more homes for buyers to choose from this January than there were last January, right? Pending, there's 8.4% less homes that are going under contract, currently under contract in MLS than there were last year. So 18% increase, 8.4% decrease in homes that are under contract. Make sense? Right? Now, there's a little bit of a delay on when they go under contract and when they sell, right? Okay, so close was actually up 3.9%. Now, those went under contract in what month? They closed in January. When did they go under contract?
December.
Yeah, December probably. Maybe late November, early December if they closed in January. So, median sales price, you know, this is where the media would go crazy. They'd be like, home inventory through the roof, sales price is crashing. Crashing? They went down an average of $2,000. Okay, that's not a crash. Do you see what I mean? 0.5%. That's not a crash. But the media can have a haywire day with it, getting eyeballs, getting everybody to look. Okay, so I'm going to show you a chart in a second that'll help with that. Looking at December versus January, let me go to another slide. So if a listing, we're going to dig more into it. If a listing isn't selling, what's likely the problem?
Price.
Price. You can sell anything with the right
Price.
price. Okay. Now, if you have a listing that's sitting on the market right now, or you're listing a property in the future and it's not selling, and you get to the point where like, hey, we've been on the market, how many days will we know if we priced it right? 12 if it's a single family detached. 12, we'll know if we got it right. So we're 14 days or 21 days or 30 days in it, we need to make a price adjustment. That's the reality of it. Price adjustment has to happen. How much do most sellers want to adjust the price? $5,000. That should get it, right? You know, what marketing are you going to do to get the buyers through this week? You know, well, yeah, we'll adjust it $5,000. That won't work. Here's what the market is telling us. The homes that sold that had to reduce the price in 2024 had to adjust 6.4%. So on a $500,000 property, that's about $30,000. You see what I mean? Going from $500 to $495, if we've been on the market for 3 months, is not going to get it done, right? We need to go from $500 to $470. That's what. This is not us making up numbers. These are the sellers last month, actual numbers, actual data. You guys follow it? Some sellers will have trouble swallowing that big of a price adjustment. So like as an agent, I might lean into it. I mean, well, let's make a $15,000 adjustment now and revisit this in about a week and a half later after we see how much traffic we got and we adjust it again. Make sense? Because sometimes they'll have trouble adjusting right away to that number. Okay? I said this last month when I presented these slides. Unspoken expectations are just premeditated resentment. Unspoken expectations are just premeditated resentment. What does that mean? That means you should absolutely show this slide at the listing appointment, saying we'll know if we got it right within 12 days and it should bring close to list price. And if we do have to make an adjustment, this is the adjustment that sellers in your price range are having to make to get the home sold. They're having to adjust. $500,000 house, 6.4%.
And
Okay?
is that in that whole package?
Yes. I'm glad you asked. Let me show you something.
I didn't see it.
I know you can't see very well the top left-hand corner in yellow. That says quarterly reports. This particular slide is in the quarterly report. Pretty much everything else I'm showing you today is in the monthly report. This is in the quarterly. Okay?
Thank you.
Bring this in the listing appointment. My goal is to get it sold in less than 12, get it under contract in less than 12 days and bring as close to list price as possible. And depending on what happens in the market, if we got the price wrong, this is likely what would have to be adjusted to get it sold. This isn't me, this is the market. All right?
Do you think these higher prices that were out on the market are contributing to the pandemic, that numbers that we were looking at going into this market?
Tell me what you mean.
The pandemic, the prices are going up, you got 30 buyers for a property, supply and demand. This year, it kind of balanced out a lot, and so the prices, the sellers say, oh, I can still sell my house for X dollars, so everybody's been doing it.
Yeah. So all prices had an impact of this. It depends on the higher end homes. There weren't as many bidding wars. I could go back and look. There weren't as many bidding wars. But prices, long story short, they shouldn't go up 20%. Did people's wages go up 20% in 2020? No, they didn't. Right? Average wage increase was like 3 or 4 or 5%. That's what homes should go up every year. Here's the reality of it. I didn't put this slide in there. Gary Keller has one. We were below that 5% increase per year for like 9 years, right? So all of a sudden, when they go up really high, it feels like they're ramping up too quick. They actually weren't. They were catching up with lost time. You see what I mean? And when you go from doing 100 miles an hour to doing 80 feels slow, right? That's where we're at right now. It's still a good market. I'll show you a slide in a second. Good question, Daryl. Once the price is adjusted, they're going to say, well, I've just made an adjustment. I'm not going to negotiate. Does that ever happen to you guys? Or just me? You know? Set the expectation up front. If we did have to adjust, it'll likely bring, on the homes that had to adjust, in your $500,000 price range, 99.3%. So even though we just adjusted it down, we will likely get 99.3% of that adjusted price. Make sense? So these are real numbers. This isn't, this is actual numbers even no less. Okay, so what are the trends telling us about the stability of the market? Let's take a look. The red could make you a little worried of it. Let me show you, if there's one I have in here called perspective. This is it. Okay. I know you can't see this really well, but look, do you see what year that is? Anybody up front see that? That was before everything got what? Crazy, right? And was that a normal market? I don't know. Define normal, but that was back before things did get bananas, okay? So where are we at now? Number of active listings in 2019, there were a little over 10,000. Guess what? There's a little over 10,000 right now. Okay. Number of pending back in 2019, there were 5,200 in January. This January, there are 3,700. So the same number of active homes, a little less in pending. You see, it's a little less demand than there was in 2019. Okay. Supply in months, 4.4 months versus 4.7. That's pretty darn close, as far as months of supply. Keep your eye on it. If it keeps going up, that's a different conversation. But right now, pretty similar to 2019. Median sales price, that's a big difference. 408, yes, that's gone up a lot. But again, prices were depressed for a very long time. I think we all wish we would have bought a lot more homes back in the 2000 teens, the 10, 11, 12, or before then. Median days on market, 44 versus 49. Again, pretty similar for days on market. Homes shouldn't sell in 8 days with 34 offers. Like, this is back to a normal listing agreement. 3 to 6 months for a listing agreement. Median sales price to original list price, it was around 95% in 2019. It was around, it was 94.3, not too far from 95% in 2019. You guys see it? Yeah. Pretty similar. Here's where we're starting to get a bigger spread and problems. Price reductions were 46% back then, 55% now. We're not getting the price right. Sellers are holding on to what happened before, right? Not what's going on right now. Okay? Bless you. Percent sold above list price. 22.7% in 2019, 22.2% now, not the same as 2019. You guys got it? Failed listings a little bit higher because of the pricing. And seller concessions, a few percentage more have set concessions, like seller paid closing costs. Make sense? All in all, pretty darn similar to 2019. Demand slightly lower than the only one that kind of jumps out, and we're having to take more price reductions. But overall, pretty similar to 2019. This is a great slide to have with you to show buyers. Keep your eye on this each month and see how it changes. Okay, you guys with me? Okay. All right. So, biggest concerns of the buyer is pricing, right? What would it be called if prices crashed? What typically do they label that in the economy?
Recession.
Recession. So, like, if somebody has that mindset of worst case scenario, there's different personality types that do. What do we do? How do we handle that? How we handle that is share this slide with them. This is from the HUD. It's where it came from. So this is a great article. Like, it has a link on it too. I think if you click on it when you get it, it'll open it up. So this goes back to 1960s, and it says if we did go into recession, what would happen with prices? You can actually take your mouse and drag along here, and after every recession typically lasted 11 months. That was the average, was 11 months. Most people don't buy a house and sell it within 11 months, right? And prices outside of that recession, once they got out of the recession, 12, 13, 14 months, in every single one of them, like if you click here, then here, if you click here, and then right here, if you click right here, right before the recession, then right after, it's a little bit higher. Each one of them, if you zoom in and actually click on right before the recession and right after, the prices were actually up, except for 2007, right? That was the only one. And mortgages caused that. So if history is teaching us anything, then if we did, worst case scenario, go into recession, is it possible prices could dip down for a minute? Sure, but are you selling your house in the next 11, 12, 13 months? No, then just hold on to it. Because the reality is, on average, they've appreciated roughly 5%. You know, so if you're keeping it for 5, 6, 7, 10 years, you can probably expect somewhere around 5%. History's telling us. You guys follow it? Okay. All right, I'll send that out. All right, is it hot or not? Is the market good? What color do you see as most of these? Green. This looks pretty good, you know. Active listings is okay. Pending listings are looking pretty good. Pending ratio is pretty good. The reds are a year-over-year change, but the greens are the month-over-month. I like that. I like the month-over-month looking green, okay? Closed listings. Again, this one has still a little more green than red. You know, is it months of supply? We are seeing an increase in months of supply. Keep your eye on that, because that could affect pricing if it continues to do that. Here's what I'm seeing in our offices. We just hit, last month was a tough month for most of the offices, and the lead indicators, listing taken and contracts written, went through the roof. So what that means is spring's probably going to be a really good market, right? And that should absorb a lot of that inventory. So let's see what happens. What could put a kink in the chain is if inflation numbers go up, the Feds could unfortunately force, you know, in a roundabout way for rates to go up. If that happens, that could slow things down, that could cause a problem. So stay tuned, let's see what happens, okay? All right. Are we still getting homes above list price? Yeah, absolutely are. Pinellas is down month to month and year over year. Which one got hit hardest by the storms? So that could be it because of what's going on, you know, with some damaged properties and things like that, okay? But Hillsborough, Pasco, both saw month over month an increase in homes going above list price. So in January, in December versus January, more homes went above list price in January than they did in December, just 2 months ago. That's a good thing. I like that trend getting better these past few months, okay? Expired listings, again, we've got a decent bit of green, you can look at that. Here's a good slide. You're going to pick a slide that you like. One of these slides is you're going to be like, I can relate with that one. Pick the one that you're going to use in listing and buyer consultations. Here's what this one says. This one's called the game board. It says for every 100 finalized listings, 65 will sell. So out of 100, look down the street, 65 of them will sell, right? 29 of them will not have to reduce the price. So they'll sell in 12 days, 99.4% of list price. Okay, but out of those 65 that sell, 36 are going to have to reduce the price to sell. Okay, you guys got it so far? 65 of the 100 are going to sell. 29, no price adjustment, under contract quickly, they sell, right? 36 have to reduce the price, and it takes them 100 days to sell. Go over to this side. Out of 100, 35 are not going to sell because of what? Price, right? And even out of those, 36 had to reduce the price to even get sold. So what does that mean? It means 35 that didn't sell plus 36 that had to reduce the price to sell gives us 71 out of every 100 listings is overpriced. You guys catch that? That's a big takeaway from today. That could be your one-liner on Party Chatter. You could say, hey, homes are still selling above list price, and we'll know within 12 days. But did you know 71 out of 100 homes are not priced right? Right? Why? 35 won't sell. 36 out of 100 had to reduce to sell. That could be your takeaway. You guys catch that?
Just so I understand, the days on market was 100 for the price reductions, and it was 89.9% of the original.
Yes, if they had to reduce, like it sold, but they had to reduce the price to sell, it would sell for 89.9% of list price in 100 days.
Thank you. Sure.
So this is, again, detached. See at the top in yellow it says detached. It's a different slide for attached. So grab the one that works for the listing appointment you're going on. Okay? All right.
Aubrey?
Yes.
Wait, one more time again. You said 71 out of 100 homes are not selling. Is that correct?
No, good question. 71 out of 100 did not get the price right.
Okay.
Yes. 71 out of 100 did not get the price right, meaning 35 of them didn't sell at all, The other 36 out of 71 had to reduce the price to sell. So 71 out of 100 homes had to reduce the price to sell. There was one thing I didn't put on here that's important that I go back to, so I'm going to slide through the slides really quick. I want to show this to you. Take a look at, is it that slide? No, it is, make you dizzy. This next one before this. That one. If you're submitting an offer for a buyer, this is where you're going to use this slide where you're submitting an offer for a buyer. Let's say you've got a $500,000 listing price, and your buyer says, I want to make an offer at $470, right? That may seem like, or let's say $475. That to the seller, that could be offensive. How dare they offer $475 on my $500,000 house? We just reduced it $5,000, you know, right? It could be offensive to them. Instead, and most agents in this business have never seen a market other than one that went up. They haven't had to have pricing conversations with their clients. So when you submit your offer, submit it with your buyer, representing the buyer. You follow me? Your buyer's making an offer on a $500,000 home. They're going in at $475. Okay? Submit it with this and highlight the one that says $500,000. Okay? On that $500,000 home, let's say that property's been on the market for 34 days. I would submit this and I would say, Mr. or Miss Listing Agent, I want to show you why my clients went in at this price. Although it may feel like $475 is a low offer, the market is telling us that on this $500,000 property that's been in the market over 12 days, that the sellers in this area, in Hillsborough, Pasco, whatever, right, are end up getting 89.4% of list price. 10% off a $500,000 house is $450. The market's saying, based on real stats, this home will sell for $470. So although it may feel like my buyer's offer at $475 is low, we actually feel like it's a pretty strong offer. I hope that helps you when you present it to your seller. See what I mean?
But that's the median price.
Help them win. Help them win in this. Okay? Got it? Use this with your buyer offers. When they walk in there and they have that piece of paper, that seller's still going to say, I can't believe they came in low. And that listing is like, I know, it seems low too. Here's some data they sent in, and it looks like the MLS is saying if it's been on the market more than this many days, 12 days, it's going to sell for 89.9. I don't necessarily agree with 89.9, so let's go with that. But that'll at least get that seller to say, oh, okay, I guess it's not as bad as it looks. Yes, let's count it. That's all we want is a counter. Let's get somewhere, around there. Got it? Yep. Okay, so that's how you use it as a buyer. Okay, so let's jump back to where we were. There we go. Okay, here's a little bit of marketing pieces you can use. And if you look, like Lisa, you were asking, see where it has the drop down, so all counties combined. You can click and you can select what, I think it was Lisa that asked.
That's okay.
All right. Click and you can pick the county. So that's where you can pick the county. So it'll change the numbers for you.
Are those the 3 counties or are counties in all the MLS?
This one is all counties combined. Just Hillsborough. It's a good question, Daryl. Hillsborough, Pasco, and Pinellas. Hillsborough, Pasco, and Pinellas. Stellar has its own snapshot thing you can get on there. This is more local to our area where we're selling it. So there's 2 of them. There's that other one and there's this one. You can use it on social media. You can do whatever you want with it. There's a little spot, I believe, on the editable one that has you can put your photo on there. So use that for marketing stuff too. Curious how the market's going? Here's a snapshot. Call me to talk about it. Okay. All right. Let's look at counties and then we're going to get into the fun stuff. I like numbers, they're okay, only because I had to learn them as a real estate agent, right? What I love talking about is getting you more warm referrals. We're about to go into that. Okay, you guys with me so far? Yeah. Okay. All right, Hillsborough, I just want to compare Hillsborough, Pasco, and Pinellas in January. What looks the best? Okay, Hillsborough, 36% didn't sell. Pasco, 33% didn't sell. And Pinellas, 35% didn't sell. So the one that got hit the hardest with expired listings was actually Hillsborough. Okay? All right, let's look at median days on market. So Hillsborough was 48 days, Pasco's 55 days, and Pinellas is 46. So Pasco's actually taking a little longer to sell than other markets. Okay? I just encourage you, I'm not going to go through every line on this. You guys can read these a little later. But depending on where you're at, if you have a buyer that's considering where should I buy, what county might make the most sense, you can use some of this data to say, here's how the different ones are getting affected. This is what we can expect. So, got that? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, so what's your party chatter? What do you say? This is the slide I was looking for. Okay, so the market's fascinating. 22% of the homes are selling above list price, and the average days in the market is 49 days. Pretty strong market, still is. However, I found something interesting. Did you know that 55% of the homes are having to reduce their price to sell right now, and over 35% aren't selling at all? That's when whoa, that is interesting, right? And then you say each community is a little different, so I'm curious. Why do you ask? That needs to be what you say anytime. Do your own version of this You don't have to remember all those numbers, but remember a few of them so you can talk intelligently about the market, okay? Have some stats. Most agents just say, oh, the market's fine. Give some numbers, some actual numbers. Even if they're not a numbers person, they'll respect that you know the numbers, okay? Okay. All right, here's something. What room is this in? You can probably guess. It looks like it would be here. It's not. It's in another KW office. So this is one of the top agents in another office, individual agent, and this is a text message he actually sends, and he shared it in a team meeting room one morning. And a lot of the agents in the office sent this text out. They set 6 appointments in the room just from sending this text. It just says, "Happy Tuesday, checking in. I'm sure you heard the chatter about the real estate market. Would love to catch up, Brian." That's all they said. I'm giving you ideas on what you can do because you're sitting in a room today. What day is today?
Tuesday.
Isn't that neat, huh? So you can send, would you know something about the market now? Have some ideas of what's going on? You have some insights of what's going on in the market? So you absolutely could talk intelligently about it. The takeaway from this is I want you to look at that perspective slide. Compared to 2019, before things got crazy, we're in a pretty similar market. You know, we're in a pretty, and the swing of things right now is actually looking better than it was earlier, later in last year. It's actually looking a little better. So I'm cautiously optimistic that the number of units will go up this year. Why? Remember what we first talking about 7 out of the past 8 elections, the number of homes sold went up. Same with prices. All right, so I'm cautiously optimistic that prices and units will go up this year. Now, could they change and go the other direction? Sure, but do most people move in the next 11 months? No. You see what I mean? So be able to intelligently talk about that. Okay, before we jump into referrals, give me some ahas, takeaways, questions. What did you get out of this? Go ahead.
The one thing is, where do you find the market stats? I'm sitting back here wondering.
Thank you. Yes, check your email. If all 3 offices got email yesterday, the subject line had the word Chartmasters in it. 2 of them went out yesterday, one the day before.
Oh, not from you?
Not from me,
All my emails
from the
from
office.
you.
Yeah, just go like subject Chartmasters. You'll see Chartmasters with a link. Here's the other way to get it. If you go to our Ubaldini group Google Drive, there's a Google Drive for all of us. Go there, and there's a folder that says market reports. That's the word. I should probably put that screenshot up here. But it's in the Google Drive under market reports, and it's broken down by month or quarter. So good question. So email will be one way. The second way would be the drive. The third way would be email your agent services. I can't find it, but you send it to me. They'll send it to you. Okay? Is that helpful? Okay, give me some ahas and some takeaways so far. What did you get out of this so far? Yes?
Huge aha moment that we were very similar to 2019.
Yeah.
I think that's incredible.
It is. 2019 was, if you ask most people, hey, what'd you think about, that could be the question. If they say, how's the market? You say, what'd you think about 2019? Think about that. If I say, well, it's a pretty good market, say, we're about the same as right then. You know, in most categories, pretty darn close. You know? Yep. Okay, another takeaway. Yep, Melissa, and then we'll go back to you.
71 out of every 100 homes are overpriced.
They're over 71 out of 100 are overpriced.
So much conversation with sellers about they're looking at their competition and going, well, I want a price like them or whatever, and we're constantly saying yes, and that's not what the numbers say. But to have that 71 out of 100 are overpriced is a big difference.
Melissa, when I'm sitting with a seller, if they're on board with the price that I recommend, I may not show some of these slides. But if they're pushing back on it, then I would pull those out of wherever. I would say, all right, here's what the market's telling us. This is a business decision as an agent. If I want to take that listing and I know it's priced a little too high, I would say market's telling us that if within 12 days we're going to know if it's priced right or wrong. My suggestion is we list this home at $470, not $500. But I'm willing to list it at $500 under one condition. We do what this paper tells us. And we're going to build it in the listing agreement that says all parties agree that the price will be adjusted to $470,000 once we've been in the market in more than 14 days. Then you don't have to ask for a price reduction, you just make the adjustment.
Can I add to that? Because a lot of what's happening too is that if we look at sold houses in the last 5 or 6 months, if there is something that's extremely comparable and they want to price it at that, yet being able to say to them, listen, we'll know if the house is overpriced in 12 days is huge because the market's not the same.
Yeah.
And yet the data would suggest that it is.
Right.
Because that's the only thing that we have to go on.
Right. Another alternative to this would be if someone still pushes back on price and I don't want to list the property, they're not willing to adjust the price in the listing agreement, I would do this. I say, all right, well, let's do it this way. I don't determine the price, the seller does, it's really the market, right? The buyer is going to determine what they're going to pay. Here's what I'd like to do. Let's do a pre-listing appraisal I'll reimburse you for half of it at closing, right? That way it'll help us two ways. One, when we have an offer, we'll know up front, you know, based on real numbers, when an appraiser says this house is worth. Number two, when we get an offer from a buyer's agent, and let's say it comes in low, rather than just countering back saying we feel like it's worth $500,000, what if I had a certified residential appraisal that was done 2 weeks ago? Like I said, hey, this was just done, showing it's worth this amount of money. That holds a lot more weight. That's worth thousands of dollars, right, in negotiations, and I'll reimburse you for half of it at close, right? Now, you know, when did that say I was going to reimburse her? So what happens if it doesn't close? I don't know anything. I'm not paying anything up front, and if it doesn't sell, I'm not paying anything. Because we get paid when what happens? It closes, you know? So that's another way, a third tactic. So put it in the listing agreement to adjust the price after 14 days if it's not under contract to whatever that price is, right? Or get a pre-listing appraisal done at their expense, which you'll put in the listing agreement, we'll reimburse half at closing, right? That'd be two ways to overcome that. Thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. Who else? Inside, I think we had somebody back in their hand up.
Well, I just said, I circled the word that you've been house to market, fascinating. I love that.
It's a good word.
That's a perfect word, yeah, that's
I
great.
can't coin that one.
Then you can go from there. I know, but I mean, it's a great fascinating.
That's true. It's always fascinating.
I know, but it's a great word, yeah.
Yes.
I just love how we drill down on getting key stocks versus the market. I think that makes sense.
Everywhere on the mountaintops, over 4%. You guys are bringing more than 4% more than the average agent in the MLS. That's phenomenal. And selling it faster. So it's not like we're underpricing it. We're bringing more money closer to the sales price and doing it faster in less time. That's like the two things people want, more money and less time. You know, you guys are doing it at a huge level. I need to pull up Portfolio and Clearwater, see what those are. So, yes.
So I got the email with all this information yesterday, and I just kind of disregarded it because it didn't make sense to me. And so I'm glad I looked at the calendar and saw this cost. I'm glad I came in because now it's very informational and it's good data for me to provide for ourselves.
I'm glad you came too. What's your first name?
Miley.
Miley, thanks for coming. And the goal today is really to empower you with the words to use when you're having conversations with people. There's no lack of data. You know, like yesterday was just an email with a bunch of data, you know? It's like, what we're lacking is interpretation. If we're going to have people see us, if we want to change from being seen as door openers to wealth determiners, we've got to understand this kind of stuff, right? That's how we do it, interpretation. Yep. Good, yes.
One thing you said was interesting at the end. We've got all these great slides, we can use them in listing presentations, but we might not need to.
Yeah.
And it's so important to make that call before you go to your listing appointment and ask that important question. Like, did you have a number in mind that you want to list your house for? Because if they are where you are, you can save a lot of time. You don't need to throw all this information up on them unless they are that person who really needs it.
You don't want to place the seed of doubt in their minds if they're already agreeing to the right price.
Right.
Great aha that you took that up, because sometimes I'll blow by that. Only use these when we're seeing that they're priced a little too high for the market, then pull these out, you know? Yeah.
On the flip side, with the buyer slides, sometimes we'll have buyers who want something so badly that they won't want to go in at the price that we think is maybe in their best interest, the lower price. And we're the professionals. If we want to show up in that way, this slide can be used to say, look, this is why I think we should go in. I don't think we'll lose it. You know, because the buyers don't know the conversations that we've had once sitting with a seller who really wants to list really high when we know as the listing agent is probably going to come in here. And so using that information when you're working with a buyer is really important too. And these charts help us have that conversation as well.
Yeah, if you're working with a buyer and they're trying to get a really good deal on something, I would pull this chart out and show them and say, if the home's been on the market for less than 12 days, it's had 15 showings, and the listing agent is getting multiple offers, it's likely going to bring 99.4% of list price, and 22% of the time it's going to go above list price. So if we're looking for a good deal on something, let's go with something that's been on the market more than 30, 45, 60 days, because now we know on average they'll bring close to 93, 94, 95%. You see what I mean? Like that's how you get to that. So yeah, choosing the right slide at the right time. Yes?
Is keeping current matters worth the subscription to you?
Great question. I actually, I have no vested interest in
I
this.
think very much.
You're able to brand it with your picture and your information. You have a choice to make. The free version's pretty good. You can repost articles. It just doesn't have your information on there for free. Branded stuff is a little better. How much is it a month?
It's It's like 50, 60 bucks.
Per month?
I think it's like 20 bucks. Yeah, why not? It's like 50, 60.
Personal decision, something's better than nothing, so I'd rather use the free version than use nothing at all. You know what I mean? This would give you great content to post up once a week, once a month, in your social media.
Because it's more the national versus the Chartmaster is more local.
Exactly. I use both.
Okay.
So, okay. Yes, Daryl.
On Stola, they're saying that, 65%.
Hey guys, I can't hear. What's that?
65% of the homes sell within 49 days in Hillsborough County.
In Hillsborough. Okay, so
So how do they come up with the day 12 that you know the price right?
these ones right here are Hillsborough, Pasco, and Pinellas. Do the drop down just for Hillsborough and look at detached or attached. When you see the stats with Stellar, they're combining attached and detached.
Right.
So you want to have those separate. These will be more accurate than what you're seeing at Stellar by far. Because Stellar's all over.
Hearing the number.
Yeah, it's skewing the number a little bit because condos and villas are in there. So, yeah. Okay. All right. Let's move to what I love, which is creating warm referrals. I'd love for everybody in the room to walk out of here with a handful of warm referrals. Who would like some warm referrals today? Okay. All right. The rest of you, I don't know. You're deep in thought. Okay, so we're going to give 7 ideas, actually be more than that. I want you to pick the one that rings a bell with you. So you're going to hear a bunch of great ideas, things agents are doing right now that work well. Pick the one that you're like, I could do that one. That one I could do this afternoon, okay? Remember, if you're looking for your $10,000 idea, that could have been already shared. Getting a price reduction on a property, getting it sold. It could have been, I'm going to get another buyer's offer accepted with one of those slides when I send it in, the offer to the listing agent. Or it could be one of these. All right, so what needs to happen for someone to feel comfortable to refer you?
I like you.
You have to like you, what else?
No, like and trust you.
Yes, all of those, right? In other words, well, let me ask you this. What will cause them to refer you over other agents?
Relationship.
Experience, they believe you can do a better job than other people, and they like you, know you, and trust you. Could someone like you and not refer you?
Yes.
What will cause that?
Not staying top of mind.
Not staying top of mind? That could do
Some
it.
people don't want to feel like if it's a friend, some
Oh,
people
yeah.
don't want to do it because they like numbers. They don't want you to know the numbers. They're like, I like you as a friend, but
Focus on the one thing you did wrong and not everything.
Yeah, it could be maybe they like you as a person, but they saw you make some mistakes or how you show up. They're like, I love this person, but I'm not comfortable referring them. That happens too, Yep, follow up. Maybe we didn't follow up. Absolutely. All right. So how do we earn referrals? How do we earn referrals?
Answer your phone.
What's that? Ask for them. What else?
Answer your phone.
Answer your phone. That's an important part of this. Yes, absolutely. We got to build trust. We have to be seen as a professional. They have to trust that we can do a good job with the people they introduce us to, because the worst thing we do is make them look bad, right? If they put their name to ours, we made it look bad. So they have to trust that we'll do a good job. How can they trust that? They know you're a good person with a good heart, a good work ethic, right? And they see you as the professional. They may know 5 agents, but they look at you and say, well, you're the one I trust the most, Okay. So meaningful, heartfelt, useful touches. So what's the system we use in KW that we coined to talk about how you touch base with your database? DTD2, that's the daily touch. And what's the program quality you should run every day? 36 touch, 33 touch, 48 touch, whatever the word is, right? So it started off being called 33 touch. You're going to like getting a copy of these, and here's the reason why. You're going to have little nuggets that will help you. This is from a top producing agent. Her name's Rachel Adams, and it has what her 36 touch is. So it says, like, in January, she does an evidence of success. I could share what that is separately. She shares, I'll share that in a second, a letter from the heart in February. She calls her database. She does a daylight savings touch in March, a baseball schedule. She does, a funny vendor sheet in April, and she has mimosas and mommies in May, and Red Day. This is her plan. You'll get a copy of this in a little bit. This one right here is from an MREA agent, Dustin Kimberly. This was just December 18th, 2 months ago. This isn't 10 years old, right? This is 2 months ago. He did a movie night. So he got a theater, a room. You're like, oh, that sounds so expensive. Yeah, it was probably $3,000 to have 120 people in the room. Do you think he paid for it?
Yes.
no.
Actually, no.
No,
Sponsors.
sponsors.
He had a lender, title company, his home warranty people, and they all kind of kicked in. He might have paid a small portion of it, right? But what he did, the way CFPB works is they can pay for it. I'm not an attorney, that's my disclaimer, but this is my very deep understanding because I've had a lot of conversations with RESPA attorneys and CFPB. They can't pay for leads. You see what I mean? What they can pay for is exposure, right? So if they're in front of an audience of 120 potential people that can buy and sell homes, they can put a price on it. Now, CFPB and RESPA is very vague. They call it a reasonable price. Define reasonable. You see what I mean? They're a little weary. But if you have 120 people, and the average sales price is $400,000, we're talking about millions of dollars worth of potential real estate. If they make you see what I mean? Like they can kick in for an event. There's actually companies that can, I've done this with title companies and things like that, where they say, hey, I have this event coming up. They send it off to this third-party company that RESPA compliant, and they come up with a valuation on what they can pay. But what I'm getting at is, you didn't actually pay much of anything, a couple $100. How do they do this? People had to come in, and there was a table like in the lobby of the theater, right? And you had a little thing, like an open house thing, and a sign-in, the Dustin Kimberly team with a sign-in. And they came in, an hour before the movie, right? And they could get popcorn and things like that. And he said hi to them, had a conversation with them. What are your real estate plans for 2025? Oh, we're going to remodel our house. Oh, maybe you should touch with some contractors. Or, hey, we're moving. Let's talk about that, right? And then when they went into the movie theater, she was out front for an hour. When they went into the movie theater, he had a couple minutes up front just to talk. And he said, hey, guys, I just want to thank you for being here. You're my people, and I appreciate you coming. And we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for these three people. And they just came up, hey, we're with XYZ. If you ever need to refinance your house or whatever it is costs. It was like 2 minutes, and the movie started. And he hung out afterwards and got to talk to people as he was leaving. Make sense? So, giving you ideas of what touches look like. And when you get these slides, read through the rest of these, and you'll get some more ideas on what these things are, okay? So it's a systematic way for us to generate the results that we want, okay? At the end of the day, our business is our database. I know you've heard that before. That's not new news. The best example I can come up with is if I went into my dentist on Monday, and it's a different dentist, right? And I said, where's my dentist? They said, well, we bought their practice. I say, okay, but what if I found out that they were renting the building and renting the equipment? What did that dentist actually buy? Database, me, by my name, right? My book of business. So if you want to create, the definition of a business is you can walk away from a year and it does as much or more business without you in it, right? As it did when it was in, okay? When you do a proper 33 touch, you can create predictable, reliable results year in and year out. A lot of us dabble in a 36 touch or 33 touch, but we don't do it quite right. That's this thing from cash flow quadrant. We go from being an employee, being self-employed, to creating a business, to making investments. We want as much money to come in as possible from businesses we own and investments we make. This is when we get to financial freedom. And we have more money coming in passively than actively. Okay, got it? Okay, all right. So we don't market to, we communicate with our database. Are you call reluctant or value deficient? I didn't come up with that, but that's a good line. And then I think it was Craig Zuber, or yeah, may have been. Are you call reluctant or value deficient? Yeah. Do you hesitate to call someone because you feel like you're doing something to them rather than for them? What does that mean? A lot of times we're hesitant to pick up the phone because we're like, oh, they just think I'm just trying to get real estate business. What if your whole purpose was to help them with something, right? What happens typically when you go down the street, you smile at someone? What do they do?
Smile back.
Right? When you pour into people, after going through this in the next 20 minutes, you're going to have enough ways where you pour into people where they would feel guilty if they didn't send you 10 people. That's where I want to get to, is like they would feel awful. Not because you called them and said, I'm in this listing contest, send me 10 referrals, I never called and said, who do you know looking to buy, sell, or invest? Not that that doesn't work, that just wasn't my style. My style was pour into them, where they feel so stinking guilty if they didn't send these 10 people. You see what I mean? Like, that's how this works, and that's what you're going to see. Okay. All right, so what information could you share via, this is a rhetorical question, via email, video, or snail mail that everyone would want to open? Like, they would want to see it. What does that look like? Let's look at some examples. Here's one. Do you guys see this? Pinellas County Substantial Damage Reassessment Instructions. A lot of people can get a tax break on their property if they just file this. You should share this. This should be an email. It should be a social post. This could be something you send in the mail, right? To whatever that area is, people that own in that area. Or even if they didn't, they might know somebody that didn't. So idea one, post this. Facebook, Instagram, Gmail, right? Got it? Go to the Pinellas site. I think if you click on it, it brings you to the link, but it's on disaster.pinellas.gov. Okay? Your purpose, okay, let me ask this way. When you think of bleach, what company do you think of? When you think of tissue to blow your nose, what do you think of? Okay. Like they may know 5 agents, right? But we want your name to be the person that pops in their mind. So it's not necessarily did this affect them. It's just, hey, if you happen to know someone that lives in the Pinellas area, please share this with them. A lot of them don't know they can get it back to it. right? You see what I mean? The simple touch and just keeps you at the top of their mind, okay? Second one, idea number 2, what did we just go over? Market update. Share some of these slides from Chartmasters with interpretation. They're not looking for data, to use the example that can confuse people that we talked about earlier. They're looking for you to interpret it. So it might be the perspective slide. And you say, hey, a lot of people are concerned about what's going on in the market, and the reality is it's pretty similar to what it was in 2019. Here's the numbers. See what I mean? Use that. Market update. Who knows this guy? Yeah, Brian. He's a riot. You never know what's going to come out of his mouth, right? No filter. I love him for it. He's hilarious. So here's something very interesting. This is something I've used in my own business for many, many years. Yes, sure. Out of the whatever homes you sold last year, you could tell everybody to file for homestead exemption. Great. Here's what I've also found. If you go into Realist right now, if you go into Realist and pull up a community, half of the people in that community never filed for homestead. Why? They didn't know. They forgot. Nobody reminded them. They got busy, right? So if you're looking for a really warm touch to your database or to a neighborhood you're farming, what if you sent out a snail mail, or if you use Remind to get the email addresses for half the people in a neighborhood? What if you sent out a letter, let's just say snail mail for now, something in the mail, USPS, right, Postal Service, and it says, and it had file for homestead exemption. What if it had a cover letter on there that said, hey, I don't know if you had the chance to file for homestead exemption, but being a professional in the area, I was doing a little research in the neighborhood, and I noticed that over half the people in this community forgot to file for homestead exemption. Now, you may have filed for homestead exemption, but if you didn't, look at one of your neighbors, to your left and right. One of them probably didn't. So I'd like to ask you that if you already have applied, please share this with your neighbors. If you have any questions on how to do so, call me. Be happy to help you. You're trying to real estate office. You see what I mean? That's a nice letter to do for people. Here's how you can tell. If you go into Realist and you pull up the area, the neighborhood, it'll show a Y or an X or something on whether or not they filed for homestead exemption. You just scroll down, you can see it, without even having to click into each one. It shows the list, you can see if they filed. So I actually would send it to the whole neighborhood, because the point is you want to get a touch, a helpful touch when you're coming to contribution, not just the people that didn't file. Okay, got it? Yeah. So farming, your current database, past clients. Yes?
Where did you say that was?
Realist. If you go into Stellar,
Okay.
and you go into the tax section, Realist.
Okay.
R-E-A-L-I-S-T.
Okay.
Okay. All right, that's item 3. Item number 4, this is our favorite Mexican restaurant. You guys ever been here?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? It's a good little place. Yeah, I know Julie has, right? We love it. So good. So, and I love, favorite. I also love Casatina in Dunedin. That's a great place too. All really good. Their fundita, cheese dip. Oh, so good. It's trouble. But VIP is down the street from us, so we go here pretty often. So here's what you could do. A lot of these places, you can spotlight a local business, especially a lot of them like this are getting their feet back underneath them. They got hit pretty hard during the storms, but it doesn't have to be one that got hit during the storm. You could show up as an agent, and you could find out who management is or the owner is, preferably the owner, and you can say, hey, I'm a real estate agent. I love this restaurant. I come here all the time. I absolutely love the food. I have a social media, presence, and I want to promote this to my database. I'm not asking you to pay me for anything. I just want to help you get some more business. Would that be okay? Most smart business owners would be like, you're not charging me anything, you're promoting my business, okay, right? And you might do a little short little 30-second video like, hey, I'm here at VIP Mexican Cuisine today. They have a special going on. I love this restaurant. If you're in this area or looking for a date night thing, come to this restaurant. This is so-and-so, and tell them about your restaurant. We've been here for 23 years, family-owned restaurant, and we'd love to see you, right? When you do that for someone, how do they feel? Okay. It's really good. And if this is somebody that's management or they own the company, are they an influential person? That little touch could turn to multiple different pieces of business. Does that make sense? So again, just giving you ideas, pick one that works for you, okay? All right, here's another one. What happens this week? Valentine's Day. Is that Friday? I should probably know that. So this is something a lot of top agents do. They'll hop on Open Table. We ate it. What's it called? Salt Rock Grill a couple nights ago. So good. I can't believe we waited this long to go there. So good. But we had to book ahead to get the time we wanted. It's a busy restaurant. The place was packed. So what if you hopped on Open Table today, pick 2 or 3 of your favorite restaurants around town that locals love, and set up reservations? And then you called your top 33, your top database, whoever you have in your database, the people that like you, know you, and trust you, that you know could be influential. And you said, hey, I've got these reservations at Salt Rock Grill. I can't make it this Friday. Where are you gone? Would you want them? And they're like, I didn't even think about Valentine's Day yet. The dads, they will run you through. So you can absolutely do that. So, and if you can't find someone to take them, what can you do? Just cancel it, cancel. So Open table. All right, this is something we did here. Thank you, Jen, and we had some other people in the room here. Who all helped put this together? Yes, we
No, I didn't help.
Okay, who else participated in it?
I participated.
Okay, here's the aha I hope you have. We had over 350 people that came to this event. It was antique car show, music, obstacle course jumpies, face painters, cotton candy, popcorn, gift card giveaways every 30 minutes. What did I just say?
Free food.
Free food barbecue. They literally smoked 16 butts.
Yum.
Full pork
So
butts. For free. For all your clients could have came, it wouldn't have cost them a penny. Now, what does an event like that cost? $4,000, $5,000 if you're to put it on, right? Every agent in this room, remember I said we often feel like we're doing something to someone rather than for them? It's such an easy call. You're like, Cassie, I haven't seen you forever, right? I didn't know if you knew, but we've got this awesome event going on at the office, free food, music, car show. You should come out. Come on out, you know? I'd love to see you. It doesn't matter if she's coming or not. I didn't tell her to stay in the real estate business, but here's what typically happens. In that conversation, what might she ask?
How's the market?
How's the market? And then what word do you use? It's what?
Fascinating.
Right?
22%.
I'm gonna blank, and I'm curious why you ask, you know? Like it just leads to conversations. And how many touches, think about this, like when you do this, there's some more pictures and everything of the, we also had 100 and how many unrepresented, people?
Yeah.
Yeah, we gave away, to talk about if your business is your database, we gave away 100-something names and phone. Here's what happened. They filled out raffle things to win tickets. They came to this event. So the call afterwards, we divvied them up between the agents that participated. And the call afterwards was, hey, we're so grateful that you came to our event. What'd you think of it? Did you have a good time? Okay, great. Listen, we'll let you know when the next one's coming up. Oh, by the way, do you have what are your real estate plans for 2024? It's a warm touch. Now, it's a numbers game. If we know people move on average every 5 to 10 years, then out of 10 people, you're going to have a handful that are thinking of moving. Do you see what I mean? So this got business for agents, and not just through the leads, through them inviting their database. It doesn't matter if the database showed up or not, okay? Here's why it matters. How many touches do you get from a client appreciation party? Well, you can have a phone call, right? You might call them and say, hey, what are you up to on the blank of September, And then you say, well, I'm going to email you a save the date, right? So an email, right? And then a couple days before the event, you could probably call again to remind them. The day before the event, you can send a text, hey, don't forget, here's the address, look forward to seeing you there. At the event, you see them face to face. And you should be taking what when you're there? Pictures, right? So social posts. Hey Tricia, it was so good to see you. I'm glad you and the family came. I can't believe your kids and grandkids are this big, right? Not grandkids, you get at me, right? Oh, there you go. See, I did, yeah. Had to be careful. So you see what I mean, though, and then you're tagging her in it, like of the photos you took with her, But who all sees that if you tag her in it? All of her friends, and her friends are like, whoa. What is that? You're like, oh, fun event my realtor put together. I want to go to a fun event. Now, next year, when you're reaching out to them, you can say, if you want to bring a friend with you, let me know. I get them in there too. You see what I mean? Okay, so social post, and then you might have a handwritten note afterwards that you send, a handwritten note in the mail. It's so good to see you. I'm glad you came. I can't believe your grandkids are that big now, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 touches, warm touches from one stinking event. Right? What did this event cost the agents, Jen? Most of them.
Yeah, $50.
$50.
You're 100.
Right? If we weren't trying to make any money, here's the one reason we charge money. We want people to have skin in the game. Because they don't pay anything. We'll order all this food for all these people, and then nobody will show up, So we want them to just have skin in the game. We just pick an arbitrary number to get people to have skin in the game. So next time we do this, can more of you participate? Right? The one I put together and helped coordinate in Atlanta had 1,700 people. That's how many we usually had each year. It was a big event. We'd love to get a bigger parking lot, But it was fun, and it leads to business every time.
And it was cold and dreary. I even had people say, yeah, it was cold, but it was awesome.
Okay.
Because I had 13.
Yeah, there you go. Yep. Okay, idea number 7. I know you can't see this, so I'm going to read this to you. I've done this every year. I've done it lately because I haven't had the bandwidth to, but my team does this. This is called your annual checkup. And you send this could be an email, it could be through the post office, right? But this is what it says. It says, Dear Jen, I miss our daily conversations and I trust you're doing well. It's time for your annual homeowner checkup. Just like an annual appointment with your CPA or the yearly check-in with your physician, it's important to check the well-being of what's often the biggest financial investment of people's lives, your home, right? There are 4 things I'm gonna do to help make sure you're in good shape with, right? Number 1, are you being charged too much in homeowners insurance? We're gonna have a conversation, I'll get you in touch with a couple home insurance companies, compare quotes, then go back to your own insurance company and say, hey, you know, what's going on here? Why are you charging me so much? Give me a better deal, I don't wanna leave, right? Number 2, is your tax assessed value too high? Who knows? Maybe you're getting charged too much. And if you're getting charged too much, here's what I'm gonna do, or even if you think you can get it lowered, I'm gonna give you 3 comps, and I'm gonna pick, not the ones I picked if I was listing your house, I'm gonna pick the most beat up, run down properties, right, that on paper look the same, you know, like similar square foot, similar bedrooms, similar bathrooms. That way if the tax assessor is looking at it, they'd be like, oh yeah, I guess it is overpriced. You see what I mean? So I'm gonna help you hopefully get your tax assessed value down if it's too high. Number 3, do you have the best loan you could have on your home? I'm not a lender, you know, but maybe you bought a home in the past couple of years, maybe the rate was above 7, you know, they're wherever they are today, you know, and if they go down in the 6s, this would make a lot of sense. But I'll get you connected with a loan officer. They can look at what you have, see if it makes sense to do a zero cost refi. The 4th one is if you're considering doing remodeling, I never want you to put money into something that you won't get back out. And there's a study that comes out every year called the National Association of Realtors Remodeling Impact Report. It shows the average cost of every remodel and approximately what % back you get. So if I put 10 grand into hardwoods, how much of that do I get back? If I replace the roof, how much of that do I get back? If I replace the windows, how much of that do I get back, right? I want to make sure I care about you deeply, and I want you to spend money when you won't get it back. So if you're doing any of these, we're going to sit down, and what does it say on the letter? It says, in about 30 minutes, we're going to review each of these items and identify some ways for you to potentially save money or avoid making any costly mistakes. As your real estate advisor for life, I care very much about you. My goal is to not only assist you with your real estate needs, but also to ensure we're looking at what's best for you in the long run with your home. I can conduct the annual checkup either by phone or at my office. I'll call you in the next few days to schedule an appointment. I look forward to chatting with you. If you want to meet sooner, just give me a call. Do you see how you pour so much value into someone? You will sit, I used to do this, I'd go to like Panera Bread or something like that, sit there, you know, have some coffee with them or whatever else. It'd take about 30 minutes, I'd use this sheet, the annual information sheet. Less than 30 minutes, we're done with the conversation. All I do is I'm a connector. I'll just connect them with some people, say, do your own homework, but here's a few people you can talk to. Let me send you a couple comps for the taxes, if that applies. And then I get calls a month, 2 months later, right? I should have screenshotted these. A guy named John Brunel and his wife Jenny, right? I remember they called me, they're like, I just want you to know, we met, 60 days ago, and you did that annual checkup with us. We just saved $783 per month. $783 per month. And we are so deeply grateful for you. Like, what do I get out of them adjusting their tax assessed value or remodeling? I don't get, they're not selling their house right now, but here's what I do get. They then say to me, well, what can we do to help you? I'm like, here's all I ask. If you bump into somebody who's thinking about buying or selling a home, can you just call me and get me in touch with them and I help them, right? And they're like, you bet I will. This is how you create raving fans. You pour into them. You guys got it?
Yeah.
Annual checkup. All right. We're almost out of time. We're doing good though. Bonus. I told you I could do bonuses. We have time for bonuses. Yes. Okay. Idea number 8. Brag. Not that way. Okay. Here's what I mean. Let's say that you have a closing that's going to happen, what's today? Today's Tuesday. Let's say you have a closing that's supposed to happen on Friday, okay? And let's say that in the inspection, it came up that they were supposed to replace, this window, this palladium window above the front door, okay? And it lost its thermal seal, there was water getting in around it, and the seller agreed to do it. Now, are some materials hard to get right now? Absolutely. And the seller agreed to do it, but let's say that it wasn't happening. This is what it would sound like. I would call the client, right? And I might say, hey Melissa, it's Aubrey, you have a second? I'm like, yes. Well, look, I'm looking forward to our closing on Friday. I want to give you an update on what's going on. I say, okay, what's going on? I'd say, remember when we went through the inspection, the seller agreed to replace that window that had lost its thermal seal and had some leaks. And she said, yes, here's the deal. I remember it was super important to you. You said it was a deal breaker for you, right? Here's the reality. They can't get the window. The seller's been trying to get the window, right? They can't get it in time, and I know that was a deal breaker for you. You got blown up so far, right? Now, don't pause and wait for her to get angry, right? Instead, resolve it. Say, but Melissa, I called in a favor. I called my contractor, we pulled a few extra strings, he was able to get the window. They're going to be installing it on Wednesday. We're going to be done with it on Thursday. We're going to close on time on Friday, right? What do you think she's going to say right then?
Problem solved.
Thank you. She's going to acknowledge what you did. She'd say, thank you so much for solving that problem. You have been phenomenal during this whole process. Couldn't have done it without you. As soon as they give acknowledgement, you now can go for it. You say, Melissa, I appreciate that, because there's a lot of people out there that I'm sure you know get stuck with the wrong agent. And here's what I ask of you. Anytime you come across somebody that needs help buying or selling, you just take out your phone and call me. Let me know I can help them. You earn the right for that referral in that. So many people just try to get a referral without earning the right to it. You have to make deposits in an ATM if you can ever expect to take any money out, right? So we're making deposits before we're making withdrawals. You got it? Pretty easy one. And last one. So here's what I found. I know this is hard to read. I'm gonna throw it out. So many agents, they'll say, oh yeah, referrals, I already work my database. I need another way to get referrals. I'm like, okay, you should take out your phone. What's the number at the bottom? Or I'll say, what is your sales goal this year? Let's say they told me that their sales goal is 24 homes, okay? So let's say their sales goal is 24 home sales. You should get, when done the right way, with the right touches, a 10% return of your database. 10% meaning, if we had 240 people in our database, at 10% return, we should get 24 sales. That doesn't mean that 10% of your database is selling. They might be, but it means between referrals and between them selling, you should get a 10% return. So if you wanted to sell 24 homes, it only takes a database of 240. Here's what I'll tell you. All I focus on for many, many years is 150 people. They're the ones who got all the touches in depth, right? And every single year, well over 100 warm referrals. Well, I got 3 last week. It happens every single week. I get referrals from people, right? I can't personally help them anymore. I'm too busy helping you guys, right? However, I have a team that can, and Kathy's like, send them over. I actually did. 3 weeks ago, I sent one to, our travel agent, other side. I can't remember what city it was, but across. And I sent one up in the Destin area, too, to, if you guys know Gene Rivers, I sent it to him, because we're friends. But that's where I sent those two, right? Well, my banker was the one up in Gene. So those two. And by the way, that referral, the banker's son is a doctor. You think that's a good price point? Yeah. I would say probably so, right? I don't know about my travel agent, but we'll find out, So we travel a lot though, right, Cassie? So I'm assuming she's doing it. All right, so here's what your database needs to look like. Here's what happens. Complete information. Name. If you look at your phone, most people just have what? Name and phone number. They're missing email address and physical address. And then they'll tell me, yeah, I call my database. They know I'm in real estate. Here's what I found. They have conversation bias. They call the same 33 people all the time. And they're missing the people, okay? So in this example, the way the 36 touch works is everybody should hear from you once a quarter, right? Once a quarter. And it's not, hey, who do you know looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? It could be any of the things that I just shared with you. Invites to one of the events, reminder of homestead, hey, I've got these extra, reservations at this place for Valentine's Day. Like, pick the way you're going to pour value into them. You see what I mean? Just make sure you talk to them once a quarter. So if I talk to them once a quarter, how many people do I need to talk to once? If I'm going to talk to them 4 times a year, how many people is that a month? It should be 8. I think it's 80, right? Am I doing my math right?
Yeah.
8, 16, 24. Yeah, there's 4 quarters in the year, 3 months, 80, right? So here's what this can look like. So you can take a piece of paper. This is what this looks like. What does it say at the top when you can't read it? Quarterly call list, right? So your quarterly call list. So this says quarterly call list. So my handwriting's awful because I'm writing fast. But this is your quarterly call list, right? And this is what this could look like. You should have 80, 80, and 80, right? This would be January, February, March. You follow me so far? Right? And you have 80 names that are in here, okay? Right? Once you get through calling everybody in January, it's a different list for February, it's a different list for March. But then it starts back over. The person, this list is the same as the one that's in April. This list is the same one that's the one in May. This list is the same one that's the one in June. Make sense? Okay? Here's what I found. This is a really visual way to do this. When you take your database and you go through your phone today, if you were getting, this is how I would do this. Your top, if you wanted 24 sales, your top 240, if you were going to have a big wedding, who would you invite? Right? Or if you bumped into them at the grocery store, they would know your name, you would know their name. Not random strangers, it's people that already know you, like you, and trust you. Most people have what they need in their phone right now to further develop the relationship, okay? So, what does this look like? You can't see it, but but the names are crossed out when you talk to them. So every day when you walk in, you say, all right, well, if we're going to talk with 80 people, that's about 20 per week. How many is that per day? 5 a day? And I'm just calling just to check in, to invite them to something, to remind them about the homestead exemption, to talk to them about the the annual checkup. I let them meet you to do the annual, like whatever that reason is, but then you just cross them off. And what I've found when I help agents do this is they have a tendency to skip 5 people and then call that one, and skip 8 people and then call that one. This way, when they show up every day, they're like, I gotta get to this whole list in January, and I'm missing people. This is a very visual way to avoid conversation bias. You see it? Everything you want is most likely in your pocket, in your purse right now, just by loving on your database with the right way. Okay, you guys follow me?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Questions and ahas. We made it. Yay. All right. What's your $10,000 idea? What do you have? Somebody give me one or two. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just commenting to Jen when you put up that 80.
Yeah.
I was like, that's 4 calls Monday through Friday.
Yeah, no big deal.
4 calls a day.
4 calls a day, 5 days a week.
Now you're working 7 days a week on that.
There you go. Now you can work in 7 days to make $10,000 per sale, $240,000 a year, right? If you just called 2 a day, you make 120. You see what I mean? But value oriented. All right, who else? What's your takeaway from today?
I love the local business review, going to a restaurant, doing a video, I love the videos. So.
Yes. And some people aren't comfortable on video. Other people love video. Video is the most impactful thing you can possibly do. And so many people, when they're moving here, I know we did, we looked all over YouTube looking at videos of the area, where to go, what to do, things like that. So, yeah, absolutely. Yes?
Your annual follow-up.
Yeah, the checkup.
The annual checkup.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, easy, it's simple, you know? Yes, love that. All right, who else? What's your idea? What are you implementing? What did you take away? Yeah, give me 2 more. Yes.
I have a question.
I'll send this out and I can share, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, 2 more. Yeah, annual checkup, definitely. Yep. I'll send copies out.
I just love the raising this slowly, but I need to do it more, is the event, the number of contacts that you can make off of one single event. And it's just such a warm, contribution, organic way.
Yes.
And I've seen it already in the business over the last 18 months slowly.
Yes, love that. Jen?
That's how much 150 calls for that event I picked up from someone who was not going to be able to come. She called me and she said, I can't come to the event, thanks for inviting me, but my Aunt Lonnie is going to be moving to Tampa, I need you to help her find a house.
Yeah.
I mean, $350,000 budget, so
There you go.
one lead off of that many calls.
Yes. Okay, was this helpful today?
Very, thank you.
All right, next time I want to cover this. 5, have you ever been to a listing appointment, you feel like you knocked it out of the park, right? Good connection with the person. They're like, yeah, no problem. We're gonna call you tomorrow. You know, we're circle back to you tomorrow. Like, oh, no problem. And you leave. You're like, and the next morning they call you. And they're like, hey, you're excited. You're like, oh, you're ready to go. They're like, so we decided to go with another. You were great, but we decided to go with another agent. Right? That ever happened to you? And in your mind, we're like, where did I go wrong? I had this deep connection with them. What I said makes sense. And then they go off. They take your thinking ideas and they have their agent do it. You know what I mean? Like, what in the world, right? Here's what happened. You never had a chance in the first place. They already had their mind made up. You were just the person they were double checking to make sure their current agent, their best man, their matron of honor, or whoever else, you know, they were doing their due diligence and they'd already made up their mind, right? So how would you know? There's a book called The Full Fee Agent. How would you know if you're the favorite or the fool before you even walk in? Right? And they walk through these questions you can ask, and it's not just like, who else are you interviewing? Like, it's some deeper questions ahead of time, where you'll know ahead of time, do you really have a shot at getting this so you're not spinning your wheels? If we did that, would that be helpful?
Yes.
You went in? Okay, we'll cover that next time. Motivational minute, I'm going to make this one short and sweet because we're over on time. Be willing to do the things today that others won't, so you can live the life tomorrow that others can. Take action on what you learned today. I just want to say thank you. Get your time up today. Appreciate you. We're all in.
Thank you.